Welcome to our show, In Conversation. Today we have with us Mr. Todd Bush. He is the Senior Vice President of Crowley Maritime Corporation. And then we have Mr. Sanjay Shesh, a very well-known name in the Indian shipping industry. And he is the Managing Director of Crowley Accord Ship Management. To introduce Mr. Todd Bush, he is the Senior Vice President, as I have just now said. And Mr. Bush is responsible for international marine salvage, new vessel construction and naval architecture, government services and ship management. Welcome to India, sir, and welcome to our show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
And as I have just said, Mr. Sanjay Shesh, he is the Managing Director of Crowley Accord Ship Management, and they manage more than 35 vessels, India and also outside India, internationally.
Totally, with Crowley today, we have an inventory of over 70 ships that we are managing today.
About 78 vessels.
78 vessels.
Oh,
yes.
That's great. So we have much more than what we asked for.
Yeah.
So I have few questions actually, and for the benefit of our viewers. To start with, as you know, India's GDP is expected to grow more than 8% over the next 5 years. What do you see actually the maritime industry contributing in this?
Well, it's an interesting question, because I think India is posed to be a major force in growth in the world economy here in the coming years. And as we've seen other countries come and go over the past period, India is now in a position to make a statement going forward. And the maritime sector, I believe, it can be a large contributing factor to that growth going forward. You have a large coastline, you have a long history of maritime in this country, and I think with some forward thinking, there's the ability to really take that to the next step, and that can be done with a lot of input from the government as well as the private sector. And here at Crowley Accord, we're here to provide some of that back office support, and Sanjay can maybe explain a little bit more about the detail around that. But we see this as an opportunity to grow with the Indian maritime sector.
Yeah. Just to add to what Todd just mentioned, is that I personally feel that the Indian shipping industry needs some sort of confidence booster with a company like Crowley supporting the maritime sector out here. By just the sheer presence of Crowley or its appearance in the Indian shipping industry, it will be a confidence booster whereby people who are having confidence in putting their investments into various other industries in the country would be now directed towards the maritime industry.
Well, that's very interesting, because that leads me to the second question. Now, as you are aware, I'm sure you are aware of that, Indian government allows 100% foreign direct investment in the shipping sector. Now, we don't see much happening in this particular section actually as far as the ship owning is concerned.
Yeah.
What do you think India needs to do more to attract a company like Crowley Group?
Yeah, so that's a great question as well. And I think when again we look forward, we look about the opportunities out there globally. And so when a company like Crowley, so Crowley today is $2+ billion US. In annual revenues, and we operate over 300 vessels globally, about 5,500 employees. So when Crowley looks out at the opportunities around the world and decides where it wants to put its investment, where it wants to take a position in the future, what it looks for is government sector participation and support. It's looking for an infrastructure that they can rely on to support the business it's going to invest in. It's looking for local content, so it's looking for seafarers that are going to be able to employed on those vessels. It's looking for the service industry that's going to support those vessels and the people on them. And again, I think where India is posed right now is to really position itself to be there for a company like Crowley to invest in. And I guess the other thing I would point out is industry should look at potentially shipbuilding in India. And I think if you put those things together, whether it's a Crowley or another foreign investor, those are going to be the types of things that are going to attract investment here.
Yeah, I'm sure you have heard of actually Make in India, this campaign which has been started by the government of India. So shipbuilding is, of course, is on the agenda. So
no, actually, it's just to add on to what Todd just said, that we need some Indian entrepreneurs to move in, show some confidence in the maritime sector within the country. Once Crowley is already here, along with Crowley Airport, Crowley is already here, and they are observing the movements in the country. I mean, if they see a strong player moving into certain field in the maritime sector, and if it has common synergies in the way we work in the US, I'm sure Crowley will seek the opportunity and would like to tackle it, because they have just made an entry, and this entry is only for observation, and they're not going to observe for a very long time. They are definitely looking at opportunities, but they will be more confident once they see the Indian entrepreneur moving in with confidence with the Make in India policy. We will definitely support them in case they show confidence in whatever they want to do.
looking at actually the Indian knowledge wealth and the entrepreneurs' capabilities, I'm sure India will not let you down, sir.
I agree.
India is often compared with China. That is in everything actually, whether we talk about manufacturing, we talk about IT, we talk about anything. So India is often compared with China. What do you think we need to do more to attract more investments in India? I mean in the maritime sector.
Sure. Well, I think that when you look back at what China has done and pick a past 10-year period, what they've done is they've tried to make it attractive for foreign investment and an infrastructure that was closed prior to that. And so some of the things that they have done is open up areas that have traditionally been non-existent to third parties, to outside countries. And so I think when India looks forward, and India is trying to attract that investment from foreign investors like a Crowley, is they need to be thinking about that as well. And as we're talking about the maritime sector, we spoke about shipbuilding, we spoke about the personnel, and trained and skilled personnel.
Absolutely.
I think it's absolutely critical because the growth is all going to be dependent on the personnel. And if India continues with their history and training personnel, have skilled people that can man vessels, can service and support vessels, I think that's a big step. The other area I would say is infrastructure. So if we're going to invest, we want to know that India has good ports, they have good port infrastructure and support, and then when we come here we're going to be serviced quickly and efficiently so that we can go on to the next opportunity for us.
I'm sure that you're aware of the fact that India is planning a very huge investment in the infrastructure sector, and recently we had the budget also.
Yes.
And we have seen the government taking a lot of initiative on that. Anyway, I will come to the next question on that. Sometimes we talk about ease of doing business in India. That's a very interesting thing when we talk about, particularly companies which are coming from Europe, from Far East, from US. During your current visit, what is your experience?
Well, I tell you, Sanjay had me very busy yesterday, and we had the opportunity to meet with several local companies, shipping companies, as well as some support companies in the legal and risk profession. And from what I see, there is a lot of excitement around the growth potential. There's a lot of excitement around the government's support of infrastructure and areas to rebuild. The additional thing that I see is there's this willingness to bring in outside investment. And as I mentioned previously in the concerns around China, that was a big problem for China before, is they did not allow outside investment. They did not make it very friendly. And I think from what I see right now, India is looking to be very pro-business. And that's something that's attractive to an outside investor like me. We want to come in and we want to be a part of that.
Absolutely wonderful to hear that. So what are your group's plans for expansion in India? If I can ask both of you actually this question.
Yeah.
Sanjay, maybe let you start
Actually,
out there.
plans are based on opportunities. And as far as it's a very volatile environment. Just taking your last question and adding the answer to this one also.
Okay.
The private sector in India is very dynamic. It is open to various challenges, but the opportunities lie when the public sector or the government sector takes some decisions. That's where the opportunities lie. The private sector, they just want a pillar from a foreign company to advance into business, and they are also looking at opportunities abroad. I mean, the private sector in India looks at Crowley to provide them opportunities in the US to do business out there, because India, somewhere down the line, at the moment, even the private sector in India is not very confident of doing the business out here. That is the reason why they do their businesses outside. So at the moment, we are watching. We plan only when we see the right opportunities maturing into something which we can look at and invest in.
So shall I understand, like you are saying, confidence building takes little time?
It is going to take some time.
Okay.
With the new government, we are very, very positive. Everybody, I mean, every business house in India is very positive with the new government.
But you want to see the things happening?
Yes.
Yeah, I would add to that. I think Sanjay's hit it right on. The outside appearance right now is very optimistic, and it appears that the government coming in is trying to be very pro-business and growth-oriented. So we're excited about that. When we look at the services that Crowley provides globally and other places in the world, we talk about marine engineering, we talk about naval architecture, we talk about the ship management that we're doing here with Crowley Accord, we talk about vessel operations and crewing, harbor services, petroleum distribution and transportation. All of those are activities that take place here today in India. And so if the environment and the culture around that is to attract outside investment, we're going to be watching it very closely, and when the opportunity is right, we'll be stepping in.
Excellent, I would say. Now, one of the areas of your expertise is marine salvage. Now, in India, we believe it is at the infant stage. A lot needs to be done. So, what future do you see in this industry, and also for Crowley?
Yeah, so thanks for that. As you're probably aware, Crowley purchased Titan Salvage in 2005. Since that, we've grown Titan Salvage to a very dominant position in the global market for both salvage, wreck removal, and emergency response. We're very happy and excited to be finished very recently with the Costa Concordia, which will go down in history as the largest salvage project ever. And when I look at India, I get excited again when I talk about salvage and emergency response. India has a huge coastline. It's a maritime seafaring nation, and it's going to have a lot of activities with ships. I mean, all we have to do is look out the window. And for that, I think again with the openness to attract outside investment, to bring in and want to have the expertise of third parties, I think that that's something that Titan will look very closely at. I would say that the maritime sector is supported by the risk and legal world, and that's a very important combination with the salvage end of things. We have a large depot in Singapore, and with the right environment, we will have a large depot somewhere here in India to respond to local casualties here.
You have been here for more than 1 year now. Your organization has been for more than 1 year. So actually, with your smile, I can see that the experience has been good. Your comments on that?
Absolutely. It's been, I would say it's been everything we hoped and a little bit more. Sanjay Captain Chief says that we're watching and we're paying attention, and that is absolutely true. And so we're here. We've got a wonderful team of about 60 people out here providing value-added services to our shipping customers that we support here. And as we see that and we talk about the interaction with those companies, we look at what they're doing and what their prospects are for the future. we're excited. We think it's a great place to be. We're positioned well, and we're looking for growth.
Thank you very much, Mr. Todd, and I wish you all the success here. And thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure meeting you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you.